This is the last photo ever taken of 12-year-old Jared Negrete. It was discovered on his camera, abandoned on the edge of a mountaintop in 1991. Since the day it was found, his family and investigators have been plagued by a horrible question. Did he take it, or did someone else? This is San Gorgonio, the highest mountain peak in Southern California. And this is 12-year-old Jared Negrete, who was eager to enjoy his first overnight camping trip with his Boy Scout troop there on the night of July 19, 1991. Jared lived in El Monte, a city in the nearby San Gabriel Valley with stunning views of the mountain ranges to the north and the east. He had grown up in a close-knit family that practiced Mormonism, giving him a large extended community who knew him well. It was there that he became involved with his Boy Scout troop, which was sponsored by his church and made up of other members from it. Heading up the trail of San Gorgonio, Jared was reportedly in good spirits in the early morning of the 19th. He was surrounded by his troop, people he trusted and loved, and his scoutmaster, Dennis Knight, who was a close friend of his family. But soon, the terrain of the climb became a bit too much for Jared. San Gorgonio reaches a staggering 11,503 feet in elevation, high enough to induce elevation sickness. At just 12, Jared wasn't the most experienced hiker, and with the terrain becoming increasingly difficult, he began to lag behind at an area of the Vivian Creek Trail known as the Switchbacks. It was somewhere along here where Jared stopped behind his troop. To this day, it's not known if there were words exchanged between him and his fellow troopmates or his scoutmaster. What is known, however, is that at about 6 p.m., a retired Santa Ana firefighter, James Robertson, spotted Jared walking through here at about a 10,200-foot elevation. According to Robertson, Jared was hiking off-trail, cutting through the switchbacks to make his climb back down faster. Robertson told Jared to be careful and that it's best to stay on the trail so you don't get lost or erode the natural landscape. Jared apologized, and Robertson continued to the summit. When Robertson reached the peak, he discovered the rest of Jared's troop. Reportedly, he told the scoutmaster that he had seen Jared cutting through the switchbacks, and the troop leader didn't seem concerned, telling him that they were planning to collect him on the way back down the mountain. But as they descended the mountain, there was no sign of Jared. The troop began to call him. Their yells echoed between the canyon walls, but they got no response. Night was beginning to fall by the time they reached the campground at the mountain's base, and the scoutmaster knew that if they were going to find Jared, they needed help. The scoutmaster hiked 12 miles through the dark to reach a station with service so he could phone the police and file a missing persons report. By daybreak, the mountain was crawling with search and rescue teams, local police, and other volunteers. Though the terrain might not look completely treacherous to some, the mountains are unforgiving. There are sheer drop-offs from cliffs that are hidden by dense brush, concealing 200 or 300-foot drops below. Not only is most of the trail vertical, but the trails themselves are known for being confusing, making it easy to get turned around. Then there was the sheer amount of distance that the search had to cover. For the first 3 days, the search area was 130 square miles. Then, finally, searchers stumbled upon their first clue. Lying in the dirt at about a 10,000-foot elevation on the High Creek Trail, a team discovered footprints in the dirt. The footprints were a match for Jared's shoe size, as well as the shoes he was wearing, a pair of new high-top sneakers. Around the footprints, searchers discovered candy wrappers and beef jerky, which Jared was known to have on his person when he went missing. Everyone involved in the search for Jared was elated. This spot was 3 miles from where he was last seen, which allowed them to narrow down their search radius to an area of 6 square miles instead of 130. But that 6 square miles proved to be challenging. The chaparral vegetation was so thick and spiky that searching 150 feet took roughly an hour. A local tracker, Butch Lawson, arrived to see if he could follow Jared's footprints, but it proved to be one of the most frustrating instances of his career. According to him, Jared's footsteps indicated that he was running or scared due to the long length of the stride. But every time Lawson tried to follow the tracks, they would disappear. The idea that he was scared and running for his life was heartbreaking for his parents, Felipe and Linda Negrete. That idea became much, much worse when his camera was discovered on a slope near where his footprints were found. There were 12 photos on the camera. In the beginning, they were just photos of the beautiful landscape around him. And then, there was the last photo. Because of the flash and the camera settings, it was clear to investigating agencies that the photo was taken late into the night. Some people claimed to see the glint of an animal's eyes in the darkness behind Jared's head. Others, however, just see a lost, scared child. It's unknown if Jared took this photo of himself or if someone else took it of him. Some theorize that Jared took the photo to light up the darkness around him and see as he made his way down the unforgiving mountain. Regardless, it gave investigators and his family some hope. They knew that as night fell, he was still alive. After the camera was discovered, the investigation ramped up. Jared was known to have a backpack on his person with a canteen of water, and there was plenty of fresh water on the mountain to drink. He was wearing a traditional Boy Scout outfit, but the temperatures weren't dipping low enough to make hypothermia a concern. Everyone was hopeful that he was still out there, and they needed to put all of their manpower into finding him. Marines from a nearby base flew in to help with the investigation. Jared's parents, who were devastated, went up in a helicopter to call down to their son over a megaphone. There were planes, radar, helicopters, horses, dogs, and hundreds of people searching the mountain. 5 days became 6. 6 became 7. 1 week became 2. The search grew more desperate with every day, and stranger discoveries were on the horizon. In a single news article, law enforcement disclosed that they found a crop of marijuana plants worth over $100,000, or around $250,000 today. There is no mention of if it is believed that this discovery could somehow tie into Jared's disappearance. After several weeks, the search for Jared was called off, devastating his friends and family. A memorial was held at the Mormon Cathedral in Hacienda Heights. 500 people were in attendance, but not everyone was willing to come in. As Jared's brother and his father cried at the ceremony, his uncle Ramon refused to come in the doors. When asked by the media why he was standing outside, Ramon responded, "To the day I die, I'll believe that this church and the Boy Scouts of America are responsible for my nephew's death." Ramon didn't elaborate on this any further, and the family has denied any wrongdoing by the church or by the Boy Scouts. The Scoutmaster, Dennis Knight, was released from his position just days after Jared went missing. It was determined that he had broken safety rules by only having one adult present on the trip, and by failing to file a report of the troops' plans with the council before they left for the overnight excursion. Jared's family has publicly stated that they do not blame Knight, and that they feel nothing but love and respect for him. But for a few weeks, it seems they had doubts about Jared wandering off into the wilderness. The family hired a private investigator, George Turner, to look into the possibility that Jared was kidnapped. A few miles away from where Jared disappeared, and just 2 months later, a 10-year-old boy had been kidnapped while he was camping. Soon after the Negretes hired Turner, however, they called off the probe. Turner told the media that they called it off because the church ordered them to, a statement that the Negretes' lawyer vehemently denied. To this day, no one knows what happened to Jared Negrete. His father suffered from stress-induced pneumonia following his disappearance, and his family was never quite the same.